I'm starting to feel like Shamar Moore up in here. Whew. Boy, let's get some music on. Turn on the My Pod and let's get on the iSpace.
It's about the love change. Do it with some soul and a little love change. Yeah, it's about the love change. Do it with some soul and a little love change. You can't make a change unless you got the love change. Do it with some soul and a little love change. You can't make a change unless you got some love change. Do it with some soul and a little love change. We started from the bottom, talking about the roots. Every time I'm in the booth, I gotta shoot the truth.
Hey y'all, welcome to Season 2, Episode 4 of the Boondocks. And this is the Boondocks Podcast. This episode will be covering Stinkmeaner Strikes Back, in which Granddad's nemesis, Colonel H. Stinkmeaner, returns from hell to seek vengeance on the Freemans and picks an unlikely vessel in poor Tom. How y'all living?
I feel like Tom is the best vessel for this because he is like the they want to be whitest black man. I mean, short of Ruckus, but
this is his fear other than being anally assaulted. It's like this is probably his worst fear.
Absolutely.
You guys should have seen hubby's face when we started the intro, by the way. He's like, you just started. He didn't realize that we hadn't started. That everything was just patriotic. You should have said, I was trying not to laugh, like, just bust out. But yeah.
I kind of,
that look on his face.
I was feeling that way too. And I was like, I kept looking at the thing going, how has it been 40 minutes? Awesome. So if you're listening to this and going, what the hell are they talking about? Go join our Patreon and find out the rest of the show that you're missing.
Exactly. But so this episode, it's the return of
sorry, I know that I want to get into this, but I think that there's something kind of important in the news. A couple of things really important in the news lately, and we should kind of talk about those. The first one, it's not in the notes, but I actually wanted to make sure that we talked about. Today was the second day of the Derek Chauvin trial, the man who killed George Floyd. I have not been able to watch like any of it because every time I would turn on the news, they're talking about the trial, and it's too triggering for me right now, which really fucking sucks because I know every one of those witnesses are saying what happened, and there's still people out there. They're going to be like, well, he deserved it or whatever. And it's just like,
show his mugshot. Talk about all the, how he maybe smoked some weed way back in the day or whatever it is.
He had fentanyl in his system, which, so it didn't actually contribute to how he died, with the guy kneeling on his fucking neck for 9 fucking minutes.
Yeah. I mean, that's an image I have seared into my memory. Yep. So for me, that's why I haven't watched it, because I feel like, okay, now I get to hear over and over and over and over again. Justice has to be done. That's what I'm hoping for, and more than hoping for, because it has to be. If not, wow, you guys just be ready once again.
I'm pretty sure that Lindsay is going to agree with what I'm about to say, but I have so much trouble believing that any justice is actually going to be done. Like, I wonder, I think the best outcome in all of this is going to be like a hung jury. And that's if, like, some people are like, I absolutely cannot stand, saying that this man is not guilty. Because that's literally the defense from what I have paid attention to. It's everything they can possibly fucking think of already. And it's just, like, I know what if something like that happened to me, I know exactly, like, they would show the receipts for all of the pot that I smoked, and they would probably talk about how many bottles of wine I have all over my house, and,
I just played this podcast.
Right. Right?
I think that he will be found guilty, though. I do. I feel like It's going to be like throwing a bone. Like, oh, we gave you Chauvin. What else do you want? But I bet you, like it'll be something like a slap on the wrist term. Like he's going to do like 5 years, maybe. And then
like
he'll get
involuntary
off
manslaughter or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some bullshit like that. Yeah.
I mean, Dean just mimed something over here.
Oh yeah.
You know, like I will say that, you know, that could be even before we could just end the trial if, you know, somebody out there was not in protective custody, which I'm sure he is. You know, but
they have like choppers.
I mean, I'm not gonna ask anybody or say anybody should do anything, but you know, when you got a cop in prison or in jail, I assume he's in jail right now.
Put him in with Big Bubba. Put him in with Bubba. Let him just make sure that he has a very welcoming cellmate. I was just saying yesterday, I was telling hubby, the rapper Pop Smoke, I don't know if you guys know who he is, but I was watching an interview and he had something. Like this kid had something and so charismatic. And I just felt so bad because the interview that we were watching, he ended up getting killed 12 days later in February of last year.
Jesus.
And I told hubby, I said, now, Tekashi's 6'9", still walking around.
Right.
What was his name? The dude, was it Trayvon? The one that killed Trayvon?
Was Zimmerman?
No, I said who I'm talking about, the guy's name. You are supposed to answer my questions without me actually using the word. Jeez. George, right?
Zimmerman.
Yeah. Zimmerman. There you go. The other idiot. Yeah, I tried to, take him out of my but he's still walking around and we're just losing people. Okay. Yeah, but I'm saying he's still walking around and we're losing people that are just honestly a blessing and just have this, just great spirit and things about him. And so it's horrible that George, that his children have to live without their father. But I do kind of agree with Lindsay. Like, I feel like they're going to think about that and think about how the country can erupt. Like, we already lived through it. And they're probably like, well, we can't do this again. And Joe Biden definitely can't handle it because he can't handle a whole lot in this presidency so far, but he wouldn't be able to handle it. So I do think that they would try to use that as, some reason to give him something. You know what I'm saying? Like the fact that, his children have to live without him. And because the family did get paid recently, correct? I mean, that doesn't bring anybody back or anything like that. But I think the city,
they did get a civil settlement, but I don't remember what that was exactly. And usually when that happens, that's when the city is like, we know that you'll sue us for more money. So this is where, this is what we're going to give you to hopefully avoid the years that it will take for you to get the money another way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
that's true.
Whenever I hear that, somebody reached a settlement, I'm always like, now I definitely think you're guilty. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like you knew there was culpability there, and that's the only reason why you agreed to that.
1,000%. Yeah, but it's amazing to me that if I want to turn on YouTube, it's right there, at the top of the news, like the live, I'm just like, why? I just feel bad. I feel bad for his family. Those of us that just want justice, but like you said, like it's tough to even think about putting the energy into sitting down and watching it because it was such a hard time, so, but hopefully we'll just, hopefully we'll be talking about justice being done in a few weeks or a month or whatever, not another travesty or, Yeah.
This, I honestly, like it is really hard for me to find a lot of positivity because just everything kind of feels, despite this, like, light at the end of the tunnel feeling of getting my second dose of the vaccine today, I still have this like overwhelming, like a nurse friend of mine just killed themselves, It's, I have a teacher friend whose daughter attempted it the other day. I have another friend who is basically struggling through isolation right now because they've been living alone for a year. And it's just like, if what happens is what has always happened, I feel like there are enough people out there that are at the end of their rope that it's going to be so much worse than anything we've seen before. Like one way or another. It could go either way on that, honestly. Like it scares the shit out of me how many people are completely nihilistic now after the last year. You know?
It's crazy. I mean, the first 3 months of this year, the amount of murders, like, and just, you know, things that it's crazy, you know? Yeah. And it just lets you know how outside of your little world and how outside of your everyday, there are some serious things going on with people. And, you know, I mean, we talked about it, I think last week, you know, the lack of focus on mental health and that, you know, and people are taking more accountability for themselves now, but when you don't have it being a major epidemic and considered that like it is, you know, and the government's not trying to do anything. And that's where it really becomes a problem because you're not caring about the citizens of this country, you know, but once again, we just don't believe in being communal for some reason.
Well, it's like I think we said last week, you know, it all goes back to Reagan. Where mental health went from the start of a compassionate, like, let's try and help these people back to what it had been before, where it was, you know, treat and street, which we definitely still have today, which contributed to the death of my friend. And, you know, it's nobody, the system is not set up to save people. The system is set up to move people along or shut them away forever. And it fucking sucks. But,
you know, yeah, it's definitely that if, you know, you aren't seen, I don't have, you know, not seen, not heard from, but, you know, type of thing. Like they don't, you know, they're not concerned about it. Yeah, it sucks. But definitely, like I said, we're doing better than what we were previous 4 years as far as, you know, our leadership. But it's very apparent that what was promised is not being done.
Well, and, you know, on top of everything, like the other thing that I kind of wanted to talk about and touch on was the increase of hate crimes, specifically like hate crimes all over, but specifically against Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders, and basically people who are perceived of Asian descent are getting beat up, especially elderly, like, and the people being caught on camera doing this are not all, you know, like it's black and white people. It's not like I'm so
not the good old boys like you would think.
Right. It's not your first thought when you think of a racist act. You don't think of it being anybody other than a white guy. But in this situation, it absolutely, because you are attacking this person and potentially in a life-threatening way, because most of these people that are getting attacked are like 60, 70, 80 years old.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's... I know there was one down in LA the other day. There was one on the East Coast. Not that, like, I keep seeing snippets. Like, you know, here's another story. Here's another story. Here's another story. It's like,
and they're cowards anyway because they're doing this. But then you guys are like going and like, what is it, shooting fish in a barrel because you're going to areas where you know there's a lot. So, you know, in the Bay Area or, you know, in San Francisco, the Chinatown or wherever it may be, you know, most major cities do have that area where, you know, where their stores are and things like that. So you guys are making, like, you're going there, and you're disrupting a community. And of course, before that, you're doing something just completely inhumane and wrong. But then you're disrupting a community that wasn't worried about you. They weren't doing anything to you. There's, you know, and this is, and you know what they're saying it's coming from. And it's like, it's a year after when fucking Cheeto was saying this stupid shit. So what do you guys mean? It's stemming from that, you know? And if somebody I would go, look, you guys would have to put all kind of like funds and car washes and spaghetti dinners and whatever else together to get my bail or whatever it is together. If somebody harmed my grandmother, like it would not be a good situation.
There was that one story that made me laugh really hard of that old lady. A guy came up and punched her in the face and she ended up kicking his ass. Like he went to the hospital. And she somebody set up a GoFundMe for her for medical care, but she ended up donating almost all of it, which was $1 million. Donating it to help other people who were having this shit happen to them.
That's awesome.
So,
she's like, look, I can take care of myself.
Right?
Let's let this go to other people who.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised I haven't been a bit in it. It probably can't be a big influx because we're just now getting back to normal, but in elderly self-defense classes per se, and things like that, that should kind of be a focus right now because these people they're out there and they are nuts or carry a knife, carry you pepper spray, do something.
A lot of people probably changed in a year of complete disruption of their life in one way or another. There's very, very few people who can say that the last year has not affected them entirely. And, those people who can say that are really fucking lucky and good for you, but shut the fuck up because most of us are not okay. And, some people who are not okay might do really, really inappropriate things when they are not okay. And that includes the shit that's happening out there. I'm not blaming it on a mental illness or anything like that, but when someone is angry and when they are continuously they're continuously exposed to somebody telling them that something there is a specific reason why all of this bad shit is happening, you lose your perspective,
just kind of snap.
And it's
the brain is very, 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 very delicate, and we don't know. There's still so much we don't know about it, and
just
then
fat and jello.
We don't know about. Yeah, right. Pretty much, it's just right there. But so it's scary to say that while things have gotten better, they are increasingly getting worse in other areas.
Yeah.
So.
Just a quick note in our show notes, there will be a GoFundMe link to if you wanted to help donate towards helping the people who are being affected by the violence happening against AAPI folks. So. That's in there.
I'm doing the snaps. I love it. Yes.
All right. Anything else you want to talk about that's not the show before we jump into the show?
No, I think hubby looked over. He's like 42 minutes. I think we had 42 minutes of that before. So
59 now. One hour. We've been chatting for an hour. All right.
Yes.
Okay, then. So this episode, before we even start, I think is really interesting because it is basically The Exorcist in the Boondocks. And Dean found this really interesting. I had no idea, but this episode was actually originally created to be the second season opener. And they moved it because it was close to Halloween, so they made it a Halloween episode, basically. Right? So, there were things the Thugnificent song, which it was playing in the car radio. Basically, there was a lot of prelude to this season in this episode that could have happened before what we just watched already. So, I thought that was interesting. It's
a good little tidbit.
Yeah.
So, I did want to say, how did you guys feel about it? Because I didn't have a quote because I will admit, any episode with Stinkmeaner is probably my least favorite because I get the concept, I get the nigga moment type of things, but I think I explained this when we talked about the episode before. I also think that it says that the way that Black people react is a problem where I've said before, I think everybody reacts to certain ways or certain examples the same way. So I just have a little harder time. So it was harder for me to really look at this episode and to watch it with let me find a deeper meaning. So I was interested to hear what your take was on it. I mean, of course I'll always have something to say, but I was wondering kind of what you guys, how you took it. And maybe you guys will, enlighten me to something that I'm not quite seeing. I think for me, I kind of see it as I don't want to say coonery, but just a bad, I guess kind of coonery, but in a bad way of saying this is how all Black people act. Because I don't think, like I said, it's just strictly to, to Black people. So
Well, it was kind of like what I was saying. I don't know if we were recording for our Patreon members yet, but what I was saying that like Tom in this show is the perfect example of that Black person who is afraid to be seen as Black. So having the episode basically say that even this one who is afraid to be Black sometimes has these overly Black moments, which is when this ghost like that felt really fucking problematic. Like, did you just say that because he gets mad because he's Black, that's what let this thing into him? But at the same time, I didn't see like a overall deeper meaning that we've seen in some episodes. And I definitely could have missed something because I'm with you. I'm not a huge fan of Stinkmeaner. Mostly because whenever there's a Stinkmeaner episode, there tends to be things in it that make me go, oh fuck, I hate that. Fucking hate that part. Oh, I hate that word. I hate like there's always there's something.
That's the way I feel about it. Like,
I've got notes, I've got things that I wrote down, I've got little things that like hit a chord, but this is not one of those where I have like pages and pages of things that I want to talk about, for sure.
Yeah, like I don't feel like I've taken anything away that enriches my outlook or my, just how I feel about a situation as I do on the other episodes. So that is kind of for me, but you ladies always bring in a little extra something and help me to see it. So, so
I was going to say,
I was going to say, what are my girls?
Laughed so much during this episode. I was doing my little treadmill run and I was just laughing, stumbling, etc. But to me, there is a very strong, deeper meaning in this episode. And I'm not sure it would align with my interpretation of what's going on, but I think maybe it is. And I kind of was trying to cobble those clips together I was sending over because I thought it'll be like a crescendo. Like you kind of need them all to add up the meaning, but you honestly don't. And we can start here anyway. My take on it was exactly how Tara was just saying, Tom is seen as a white Black person, right? Like he's, and there's the quote even I started the last one I sent over where, we didn't include it in this episode, but Huey says, Tom is the furthest thing from a nigga that you could be. And, basically saying he's an upstanding Black man.
Hold on a second. Hold on.
Some people are scared of zombies or vampires, but the thing that scares Black people the most are niggas and nigga moments. Tom Dubois was as far from a nigga as a Black man could be. But Stinkmeaner knew that every Black man's spirit is weakened during a nigga moment.
So basically saying, Tom Dubois is not immune from this thing that all Black men do. That's what I got out of that.
I took it as them saying right, they're still just saying Tom is a Black man. I always hated that shit growing up. People used to tell me oh, you're an Oreo or you're a white Black girl because I speak in the manner I speak. Where I said, I grew up in the hood, all that shit. So don't, and I, would say to that, please, you guys live in the suburbs, applying that sort of thinking to my Blackness, quote unquote. And we've already talked about that on the show and how your economic status, the way you speak, etc., is not indicative of how much of a Black person you are or are not. But I think, and I guess I'll just give away all the beans right now. So this whole episode reminds me of, if you guys have ever seen that infamous, it's probably one of Chris Rock's most famous stand-up routines where he starts talking about Black people versus niggas. Black people love to know things. Niggas hate to read. Niggas love to not know something. And he just goes off on Black person hates a nigga on welfare.
And so much of that comes up from Stinkmeaner when we get to when we talk about the Exorcist scene in particular, because, the whips, the baton, read and putting a book in front of his face and filling out a job application. That's the Chris Rock joke. It's also the part of the Dave Chappelle stuff. I love that that's all peppered through there.
I think the commentary, though, is like, at least for me, like, and I think I spoke about this on the old episode we did, the first Stinkmeaner episode, where like I said, I say the word nigga. I'd be like, oh, that nigga crazy. Call my husband a nigga and that dude is white. Like all this stuff. I say it. But to me, it's commentary on Black people who try and other Black people who try and say, oh, he's a white Black guy. Black people who say, I don't mess with ghetto people. Or like one of the Real Housewives who's Black said, oh, I don't go to, if I see a bunch of Black men outside of a Rite Aid, I don't go inside. Like, to me, it was, yes, this was commentary on people like that, because that's why, and I know we're jumping ahead and we can work our way through. That's okay. But that's why Stinkmeaner and Ruckus, like how he figures out this is one and the same, you know, there's a piece between these two acts of hatred, was my take on it.
Okay.
All right. That's a good point. I see that.
Let's start at the beginning and work our way through, and maybe by the time we get to the end of that, MJ and I will understand your point a little better. How's that? Okay, so
delicious.
The episode starts recapping what a nigga moment is back from season 1. It talks about Stinkmeaner's death, but then Stinkmeaner's in hell, and he loves it and he's training real hard, and the devil just like, okay. The representation of the devil here, I feel, would be the same representation of the devil that Lil Nas did a lap dance with this weekend. This devil did not seem as devil-like as I would assume.
Yeah, like there was some attraction there. Like that's okay. Like with the Lil Nas X one, I was like, wow, you made the devil look pretty yoked and shit. Like, what's going on?
That video is a whole commentary on how people who are religious look at gay people, basically. And I think it's fucking brilliant. Yeah. I fucking love that guy, and I'm so fucking proud of him, because it means there's going to be a whole generation of Black and brown queer people who are going to grow up thinking that that's okay. And it is. So, but you know, enough about him.
He was just very bold. Very bold. And I think like what the backlash that he's taking is, I know for myself, I don't want my 9-year-old to just go, oh, Lil Nas X has a new video, and then sit down and start watching it, because I haven't had that conversation. I haven't come to that point in needing to have that conversation with him yet. So I think that the backlash, some of what he's taking is parents going, oh, well, you went from Old Town Road to this, and so it makes me as a parent have to be a parent and be accountable and stop them from something I don't want them to see. Simply, and I don't know why, maybe it's just because my kids listen. I just told them, hey, don't watch it. We can talk about it when it's appropriate, but it's just not, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's where it is. His shoes that he came out with as well. I'm like giving him kudos, because you sold out of those $1,100 and in my opinion, not very cute shoes, but you sold out of them. And I'm like, get that, go ahead, put it in your pocket.
Oh, like, you mean the $666 ones?
Yeah, I think, but
there were 666 shoes. That's what it was. Okay.
Yeah. And they were selling them for $1,100. But I want to know where these people,
you know,
and a drop of his blood. Yeah.
All I'm going to say,
so there's a little bit of controversy inducing into it.
In South Park, Saddam Hussein fucked the devil for like a whole movie. And so we're all going to be fine.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Same as like the whole, cancel Eminem. Like, we're all okay. And we've listened to Eminem for 20 plus years, guys. So you cancel, you little TikTokers that want to cancel him because of a song that you guys obviously don't get the point behind, because there was nothing wrong with that song at all for them to be mad about. But
he had much worse songs that he's done.
Oh my gosh. Like, you haven't heard Kim? Like, I mean, come on. But yeah, but just, it kind of fits in with, I think of this episode a bit. I like how you brought that up, because it's, people are saying, that is a very irresponsible thing that a hip hop artist, and basically that means a Black person, is doing, when Marilyn Manson was just as controversial. Mm-hmm. Marilyn Manson did a lot, you know what I'm saying? There's been a lot of music and a lot of musicians that the controversy's there. but you guys don't try to bring this person down. And that is what, you're kind of seeing there. So,
yeah. And even when they do, like every generation has an artist that makes their parents' generation uncomfortable. Like when I was a kid, Cher walked out on stage wearing pasties and barely any underwear. And that was like, that was like the fucking Grammys or whatever. When I was a teenager, J-Lo wore that dress that went down below her butt and she looked fucking gorgeous.
That's all you saw.
Right?
And bomb.
But like,
wear that shit today
Madonna masturbating with a crucifix on stage or,
Justify My Love, like the whole, like everything, just like a prayer.
Exactly. Every single generation has their artist that is going to shock the generation before. And it is not my job as a 40-something to tell a 20-something what to do or what to listen to at this point, because they are a fucking grown-up. Now, kids, parents are going to have to make that decision for themselves. And if you don't want your kids watching music videos that are made for everybody, then you maybe need to figure out how to block that on your kids' YouTube, because they're going to find it and they're going to watch it whether you want them to or not.
That's what I was saying. That I think the backlash is people have to be accountable and be like, oh shit, well, I'm going to have to do some work. I can't just let them go walk away with their tablet or whatnot,
I think that's the moral of the whole pandemic, of parents going, oh God, I have to parent more.
Right? Oh God, because let me tell you, if it was not for my children having computers and laptops, oh good Lord, I'd be crazy. But yeah, no. But yes.
Yeah. So Oh, what was that?
Hubby was just talking about adding his point on about that he at the beginning, like it was because his song Old Town Road was like definitely, I mean, it's a kid's anthem. Let's admit it right now. You put it on, kids are bumping around and jumping around and whatnot.
But it wasn't his choice it wasn't his choice to make it so family friendly. Like he had no real, like his control was basically getting to wear the pink cowboy outfit, and like he was trying
and actually coming out. Like that's it. That was him taking control too, because I definitely don't think that anybody wanted him to come out at that point.
They did not.
And just like parents have an accountability, you as well as an artist also do. But he's young, so I think that right now to him he's not really seeing that because he came back and Joanna Lucas is another rapper, came out and said something. So they were going back and forth on Twitter. So he points out that in Old Town Road, he's talking about drinking lean and doing something else, and he's like, and you let your kids listen to that, right? Now, I'll be honest, I didn't know anything about it. Like, I've listened to the song and shit. I didn't realize that. So I definitely get his point. But it's like, I think also this is another tactic of look over here, don't look over here, when there's so much other shit going on right now. Like, the guy who murdered, George Floyd, him being on trial right now. People's 2A rights being infringed on, whichever way it is, people being shot when they go to the grocery store, so it's kind of a way to be like, oh, they're probably like, thank you, Little Nas X.
They want to control attention away. They want to control the narrative and make sure that we're only paying attention to the things that they think we should pay attention to. I say they with the big quotes around it, like I'm some conspiracy theorist, but it is true. Like
it is. Before that, it was Quavo and Saweetie breaking up, and now they're bringing out video from a year ago of them tussling in a elevator. This shit was a year ago, but they're bringing it out just like it was right before they broke up. So it's something else. Like before he released the video, it was that and. It's always going to be something. So it's us having our due diligence and being aware that that's happening. But yeah, so I guess once again, I'm off topic.
Hey, this is what the edit button is for now. Like we have our 2-hour shows, and an hour of it goes out to the public.
Yes, right. And the rest, you guys better join the Patreon for.
Yeah, good conversations tonight, at least. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
All right. So the next part is basically where we had our clip a little bit ago. So this is Tom driving into the parking lot. Someone takes his spot. This is where the what is it? Is kick him in the Damn it, Dean's out of the room. Well, we hear the Thugnificent song coming from the car. What was that?
I really want that as my ringtone. No, I was just singing it. I really want that as my ringtone. I sound so old saying that. Do people even really still have songs?
Oh man, you know they do. Yeah, that's awesome. My phone is silent unless I like.
Yep.
I have like 2 people that my phone will ring for. So most of the time, if you ever try to call me, don't. But if you want to message me, I will see it eventually. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I get annoyed when people call me and leave me a voicemail. I'm like, why?
Right? Voicemails are for bill collectors and like doctor's appointments.
Right? Because other than that, you will not get a call back. Like I don't. Yeah. Yeah. I'm the same way.
Yeah. So Tom gets so angry by this guy stealing his parking spot that he then succumbs again to the nigga moment. And that's when Stinkmeaner is able to enter his body or whatever. Like,
it's an open vessel.
I find it. I love this scene because once Stinkmeaner is in Tom's body and he starts like yelling back at the guy, and then he does the jump kick. I love that jump kick thing that you would see in like old like samurai movies and kung fu movies.
Like, that's the best thing. You see, I was listening and watching. I was like in between the bathroom and my room, you know, kind of listening and watching it. But I don't think I realized about the couple of times that he tried to take over. You know what I'm saying? Like that was when Tom was weak, and you know, I'm kind of now it's all kind of fitting together a little bit more. But how he was weak at that time, so he allowed himself to be open to falling into a nigga moment, and then allowing Stinkmeaner, who was probably the greatest, other than Ruckus, you know, example of a nigga moment that there is. So I just looking kind of back at the notes, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm seeing all that's brought together, but still, Stinkmeaner is very annoying. Still.
Yeah, this is definitely a case of a character that just. In some shows, like even, let's take Ruckus, okay? Ruckus is vile and nasty, but you still kind of, sort of, like, wish for better for him. Whereas Stinkmeaner is just so poisonous that there is no redeeming anything about him. So.
At all. I mean, Ruckus just says stupid shit, like when he's like the sweet smell of the white person, like the shit that he says like that. That's just funny. But it, you know, with Stinkmeaner, it's just so mean, and so he's just that old person that it's like, God damn, are you ever pleasant?
Right.
And we know he's not. So, yeah.
So Tom, because Tom wakes up. And he sees this guy who just got kicked. He's like, does anybody see what happened? And the guy just, like, the look on the guy's face was so perfect. Like, every time, because I tend to have the show on, like you say. I tend to have the show on just a couple of times as kind of like background noise before I really pay attention. Because I tend to, like, filter out the main point through not paying attention too much, and then I can look for the little stuff. And the look on that guy's face was just like, what the fuck is happening? And like I could just imagine him like, who the fuck did I just piss off? Like, what is going on? Does this guy have multiple personalities? Like, which, you know, the biggest issue with the nigga moment is, how is the other person going to respond? You know, are they going to be crazier than you?
Well, I'm noticing too in the notes that it was like Tom never realized when it happened. Like, it was like he was taken over and just didn't have any recollection of it. So now, you know, kind of trying to think more about what was going on, you know, what the message is. You know, that may be a commentary on when people do get in these situations, whether they can be seen as nigga moments or if it happens to everybody, that you just lose all sense of reality and your control, and it's like somebody else is taking over your body, and that's why you're acting the way that you're acting.
Mm-hmm.
That's a result of losing control and so many other things. So see, this is why it's good, because now you guys are helping me work through it.
Right.
And I'm kind of seeing it come together.
Exactly.
There.
And there's something I forgot to mention before. So there's kind of that side story of Granddad making his dating profile and getting on MySpace and all of that. But there's also Huey.
Good old MySpace.
Huey having a nightmare that foretold Stinkmeaner coming back, and then trying to tell people about it. And like, that's a reoccurring thing that happens as well. And I wanted to make sure we touched on that, because it comes back over and over again. And especially when Granddad's like, boy, nobody listens to you. So, so yeah, after the Tom, hold on one sec.
That's my Roomba.
I was like, did someone just turn on a YouTube video in the background?
No. She's unplugged, so she...
Bitch, go home.
Oh, Roomba talks to you? That's crazy. See, that's probably why hubby won't let me get one, because he says, robots and things aren't going to take over. But look, the Roomba is talking right there.
Oh, yeah, you can hack a Roomba, too. All right,
God,
sorry,
damn,
back on topic.
That's just crazy, though. Oh, my God.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. I mean, I guess technically anything that was electronic and could be theoretically hacked some way, right? Theoretically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We should hire all hackers into government. Like, that's my solution right there.
I know a
Hire
few
them all.
people who would consider them, well, they don't use that word, but they do that sort of thing. Who wouldn't be caught dead working for the government?
True.
So the government does have white hat hackers, though.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh, yeah. My friend who died was a bit of a white hat. I've got quite a few friends actually down in Portland who have been working hard to disrupt things on cyber level, I guess. But anyway.
Just as long as you don't... hey, if you guys are ever going to change credit scores, go right ahead.
Y'all,
right? Just don't hack into like my, Google account, because we don't need those things released. But if you're going to do something that's like going to, put some extra money in people's bank accounts or change your credit, then I'm all for it.
PayPal me. Right. So Granddad got a date, and then Riley's like, yeah, because you lied about everything on your profile, which is awesome. Especially because all of Granddad's lies are like, I'm hanging out with Snoop and the boys, and like I'm a part of G Unit, and I'm like, old man,
like right. If you believed it, then you're just telling exactly what your goal is, because you're just in it to win it. Like, that's obviously it. Yeah, I love the whole MySpace references, though. It makes me want to.
The MyPod and the iSpace.
I did one time. Right. That's another reason. You don't even know the appropriate terms, but yet,
right?
I like
that though. MyPod.
No,
I wanted a MyPod.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and then Tom is in court for trial, where an Asian woman is on trial for beating a black man with a golf club. And I think she stole his wallet too, right? So then Tom goes to ask her a question, and Stinkmeaner takes possession again, making him act out a scene basically from, was that the from the Chappelle Show.
It was the Charlie Murphy talking about was it? No, it wasn't. It was Rick James.
Yes.
Being on the couch at Eddie Murphy's new couch. Fuck your couch.
Fuck your couch.
But it was fuck your courtroom. Which I didn't catch the first couple of times. I just was like, well, this is obviously a reference to something, because it sounds familiar. And then when he said it, I was like, oh, fuck. How did I miss that? Because there were a couple of different references to that. Cocaine's a hell of a drug. And the words it's a hell of a drug come out of Stinkmeaner's mouth at one point too. Let's see, where are we? Oh yeah. So then he runs out of the courtroom and he's essentially like, he looks like he's talking to himself, throwing himself around the bathroom, and then Huey's at a tree and he's talking to Ghostface Killer's ghost, who is not dead, but still his ghost. Tries to tell him like how to end this, how to stop Stinkmeaner. But Huey doesn't understand the, cryptic things that Ghostface Killer is saying.
I was gonna say, because he's all cryptic with it. Yeah,
right. Because it all makes sense at the end. You're like, yeah, totally. But yeah, no, it didn't. Like, even as he's saying it, you're like, that was awkward. Why'd you say it like that? At least that's what I
wonder why Ghostface.
Yeah, I was wondering that too.
Like, I wonder why him.
I mean, I think around this time, and I might be off, our listeners would have to tell me, I believe the Wu-Tang Clan was playing with this whole notion of spirituality and the Shaolin monks and all this shit, remember? Because right when Ghostface popped up, I was like, oh, Ghostface Killer. Because I recognized the image, like, from the video games. Like, if you guys ever played Wu-Tang Clan fighting games, like, sorry,
yes.
I'm on one.
Def Jam, and I'm angry
the
about
Def Jam
it.
One? Yes. I know exactly what you're talking about. What was it called, babe? Def Jams. It was like you had to take over. It was like a kind of not mafia game, but what was it? Rap Star? So, yeah, but I know exactly what you're talking about because we played the shit out of that.
Nice.
And they would have these superpowers and shit. Yeah.
You could totally find it. Like,
I'm
pretty sure last time we were at GameStop, I saw a version.
If it's not on Steam, shit. I'm probably not going to get it. But if it's on Steam, I'm going to check it out. Like, I do everything on my laptop. I'm not really a controller person because I can't process both my hands at the same time. Don't work that way. So figured that out. I mean, it's getting better, but
So my theory on the Ghostface, because it's the whole Kung Fu thing, because Wu-Tang Clan their name is based off of Kung Fu movie.
Right.
So that's my guess. That whole beginning scene is from, it was this, who was some kind of brothers that did Kung Fu movies. And put them together, and that was kind of their format. So I think that was based off of. It was kind of it's a play off of Wu-Tang. I think that's where that came from and why he's there.
Okay. It makes sense. The spiritual guide being something like that would be a contemporary spiritual. Like, yeah, I like that.
Especially to Huey because he's so into Kung Fu and samurais and all. Yeah. So
yeah. Okay. So okay. Granddad getting ready for his date. No, actually, I need to take a step back because we didn't talk about the Speedo. When Granddad was taking pictures. Is that next? Okay.
Which one?
So that was my point. They're in my opinion, and it might have been done on purpose, but it feels like there was a continuity error in this. Because he's like, get me the purple Speedo. And then Riley's like, I can't find it. And then he's like, here's the leopard one. Oh, that'll do. And he's putting it on. And then later he's wearing the purple Speedo. When he's falling down the stairs half naked and you see a old man dick.
Yeah, that's something that should never be seen by anybody. Oh my God. He was doing his thing though. He was doing what he thought he had to do, a little thirst trap back in the day.
Yeah.
That all reminded me so much of growing up though. It's a personal thing though, just like how my mom had 4 kids. So like she would be doing something. And you'd be like, Mom, I had this dream. Y'all know I'm on this spiritual shit. I had this and this happen. And she'd be like, go ahead. Oh, Corey, go do this. Shannon, go get me that. Da, da, da. And you keep trying to talk to her. And then I just stop. And she'd be like, I'm listening. And then so later on, when Granddad's like, nobody listens to you, I was dying because that shit was on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just especially as a mom, like you get into that point. My son, my youngest, he talks just as much as I do. And sometimes his voice, rando. So if I'm cooking and he's talking to me, this is what I'm like, what? Nuh-uh. Say it again. What happened? You see, and you just kind of get into that mode of just being on, being on the autopilot.
Then he'll bring it up to you again
the Chris Rock thing. I told you that bitch crazy. You just got to throw that one in there every so often. Really? I told you that bitch crazy.
Really? Yeah, to see, right? To see if maybe you're paying attention, right? Oh gosh.
So
that's something my boys would do.
So that was the part where Granddad was getting ready for his date, and Huey tried to warn him, not. Because he'd already told Granddad about the dream, and now he's like, Granddad, I really think that, Stinkmeaner's coming back, and Granddad's just not paying attention. And that was the next part really kind of grossed me out. That was the part where Stinkmeaner as Tom comes home to his, loving wife, and like, so when the one time that I was watching through it where Dean was sitting next to me, I literally was like, okay, now I'm demi as fuck. I'm demisexual. And for me, like, if Dean came home with a completely different personality, that would not turn me on in any way. I would be like, no, this is not okay. You are not my husband. What the fuck is going on? Now, Dean, you had a theory. His theory was that, we think that Sarah,
like you talked about before, that
she wanted more of a black,
with the Usher thing. Yeah, with the Usher thing is that she thought she was getting a blacker black man. Yeah, and that's kind of when Stinkmeaner comes out, and what's gotten into you?
Same thing's about to get into you. Oh, good.
Right, and she was.
But to be perfectly fair, from what we know of Tom and Sarah's probable relationship, he's probably never really been super spontaneous, and that might have been something she was hoping for. Yeah. So
I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Belly, but this is what, if you haven't, like, you've just got to see the one scene. You can Google like DMX scene. There's a scene that DMX just like he's arguing with this chick. And all of a sudden, he puts it down. It is like the best. 30, 40 seconds, whatever it is. So that's what it kind of reminds me of, is that like she finally got that, like, here, girl, let me kind of, let me take it. I don't want to say like Mandingo kind of like deal, but, somebody just a little rougher, kind of, like I said, kind of took her in, got it going. But yeah, so I definitely got that, because I was like, I think that if, they ended up telling her this is what happened, or she realized that, she probably wouldn't be too upset by it, because she had a good time. It was something different.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And we know that she's bored. We have definitely seen that.
Right.
Okay. So, here we go. Now we're getting into the action of the show. So, scene starts. Granddad sitting on the toilet, writing an email to some other cutie pie while he's getting ready for his date with the current cutie pie. Like, just the way that he writes emails back and forth to, like, what was it? I'm hanging out with Snoop and the boys tonight. Snoop Dogg and the boys tonight.
And the dog pound.
And the dog pound. The dog pound. So anyway,
but you're emailing about it.
Yeah, right. Tom, a.k.a. Stinkmeaner, comes into the house, breaks into the house, goes upstairs, holding an axe, and starts breaking down the bathroom door, where Granddad's on the other side of the door. This is we already saw Stinkmeaner fighting all of the little, like, demon samurai in hell. So this is the second fight scene, and we know that, that he's pretty strong if he can fight all of these demons and such. And he kicks all of their asses, but somehow they're able to subdue him, mostly by Riley breaking things over his head over and over until he finally, like, loses his grip a little bit. And then they tie him up to Riley's bed, and then Granddad's date shows up. And he just decides he's going to keep having this date, which is just the most Granddad thing ever.
I don't hear anything. What are you talking about?
Right. So the funny part here, Like, when they're talking, this is Granddad's dream woman. Like, she's like, I like to cook, mostly pork. And, like, she likes his big belly and his adventurous wardrobe of his purple Speedo with a shirt tucked into it. But then she keeps hearing the noises upstairs, and...
My friends warned me that there were weirdos on MySpace.
Wait, no! That's just the TV!
It's not the fact that you obviously have a man possessed by an evil spirit strapped to a bed upstairs.
He's not?
No. It's the fact that you lied about it.
Huh?
And other things that you went on. You better leave.
Okay, that would be me. I don't give a shit that you have a guy possessed by a demon upstairs. You lied to me.
Lied about it. I mean, she was serious about it too. Like, I know what it is.
Right.
And
In my culture.
Yeah.
Like, she would have been so fucking perfect too. Because she was just like, there's a guy upstairs, obviously. Why are you lying to me? Like, she was into it until Grandpa was like, no, cutie pie. It's just the TV. It's just the TV.
The fact that you lied about it. Yeah, that was funny. The whole pork thing, though, I died about that.
Yeah.
So I was like,
Mostly
first
pork.
of all, are you trying to kill him?
Yes.
Look at you trying to kill him, because that is the last thing that he needs is just a full diet full of pork. But he probably would have been in heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Been in heaven. A salty heaven, but
okay, so the next scene is another one of those like exorcist type scenes. If you've seen the movie, like all of the stuff in the kids' room is just spinning around and around the bed while this possessed person is like screaming. And Granddad tries to call the Catholic Church. He gets a voicemail that basically is like, if this is about a sexual assault, that cracked my shit up.
yeah.
And then,
like, there's a good way when they approach things that they did it that, inappropriate but funny. Like, it's funny because it's true type of situation. Like, we all know really what it is. So the writers did have a very good grasp on that.
And that's something like the fact that it's only in recent times, I guess, that the Catholic Church is fully admitting that this shit was happening and that they were like, moving people around and stuff. Like, it was like an open secret when the show was made. Like, people had accused them, but nothing really was happening about it. So like, it's really clever the way that he put it in there, kind of is just like a throwaway joke. It was just, you just kind of heard it passively. It wasn't like a specific thing that we were paying attention to. So I like that they did that.
I mean, he talked about Tyler Perry, and that episode never was aired. So when you can get a little joke in there about the Catholic Church, then, I think that you're the art that you have and what you're trying to portray is it's well respected. But if I ever got to interview Tyler Perry, I'd be like, so why?
Right.
Why were you a little bitch about that? But yeah.
So when Granddad can't get a hold of the Catholic Church, he does the very Granddad thing of calling the only other like church person that he knows, and that's Reverend Ruckus, Reverend Uncle Ruckus. Reverend Father Uncle Ruckus, no relation. And again, the whole Exorcist, the way that they drew this scene was exactly like the scene where the priest comes to the house when the little girl is possessed and exorcist, and like the way they had the lamp outside, we call it the street light outside. Like, it's really beautiful, the details that were in it for someone like me who's a huge horror fan and, don't get much crossover in a show like this with horror. So I was actually expecting...
I will admit, I've never seen the movie. I've only seen clips, and I've only seen I've never seen all the... I've only seen clips, but was it Scary Movie? Scary Movie is probably, like, I knew what the scene was from, so that's the only like real, reference that I have other than like clips that I've seen.
I loved that movie when I was a kid, and the book, which was fucking freaky. I I was that kid that watched horror movies from a way too young age, and not a whole lot scared me. So, like, the idea of
You're like
Zuzu.
my 9-year-old. Yeah, see? Like, Freddy Krueger fucking scared me. Jason and shit.
Oh,
like
yeah,
that.
no, not me.
Oof, yeah.
Like, the Freddy
see?
Krueger stuff, I was upset that... Well, I didn't realize at the time why I didn't like certain horror movies, and it was the like punishment for sex equals death for so many characters. And I really hated that, but I didn't understand that was why I hated it. Same thing with like the black character is almost always killed off first, and just
always
all of those things that for years I kind of picked up on but never really like processed.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Oh yeah. I watched all that
like
shit.
That irritates me. Oh yeah, you and my 9-year-old would get along because this boy is not scary at all. Like, yeah, I'm like, you can watch that with somebody else. I'm not watching it. Like he's like, nope, I don't want to watch it.
So So the next clip is kind of something that we were talking about earlier. All of the stuff that Ruckus brings for the exorcism.
You got bad credit, Robin.
Removing an evil nigga spirit from a Negro is as hard as removing the stank from a hunk of shit. We must use these tools that the great God has given us to fight niggas. A whip, a noose, a nightstick, a branding iron. These things strike fear into a nigga's heart. A job application. Avoid conversation with the nigga. The nigga will lie. The nigga will make excuses. He will use words he don't really know. If he gets really desperate, he may start to rap or dance.
Oh my God. Like every stereotype represented in that scene. Like
a job application. I mean, okay. Like you can't, for me, can't help but to laugh because I just, there's no point in being offended in some of just the idiotic things that he says.
Yeah. And this one is
and
like,
he just puts 10 on everything.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Ruckus gets basically everyone to join in on beating Tom up and just hitting him and just keep hitting him, and you got to whip the nigga out of him. And then after like hours and hours, we have this next exchange.
Is the nigga still in him?
As long as he's black and breed, he's got nigga in him.
Sorry, the echo on that was just so perfect. I don't know if you heard it.
Yes, no. It's what's so funny is what he says he really believes in, but then it's also just echoing what so many people believe in, And
if he's alive, he's still yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, what do we only consider 2/3 human in the
3/5
in the Constitution?
Yeah, 3/5.
3/5. There you go. I was giving us more, I think, obviously, but 2/3. But yeah, like, and I think many probably still secretly deep down when they're together, they say that shit to each other. Like, well, we know they're not, and like, it's, yeah. So, very powerful, the shit that he says, also hilarious, at the same time. So,
well, and
but I think that should get the point across.
Ruckus always kind of takes the most racist stands in any of the episodes. Like I think we talked about it before, where he's kind of the excuse to show the really heavy duty racism that can bloom from stupid ideas and things that you learned and never unlearned. And I really, especially considering the last year of all of our lives, the things that he pulls out that's basically like, this is like kryptonite to niggas. And it's like I said, like a cop's baton and, a book to read and a job application. It's like, it's every nasty stereotype about a black man, thrown into this
but
one
what it's also
thing.
saying, it's also saying that's how, that's a way to, to bring a nigga down or things that they, that they can't handle. That's also what is the fear of so many, that are racist of so many, because they don't want us to be educated. They don't want us to have good jobs. They don't want us to have generational wealth that we can pass down. They don't want us to be able to be in the same neighborhood that you're in. So whereas he's saying all this as to like, this is our kryptonite, whose kryptonite is it really? And is it their kryptonite? Because like I said, it's everything that they don't want, Black people to be, or to have. So it's kind of like a little, I guess, double entendre, I guess, double meaning there.
Yeah, I like that.
So this clip specifically is why it immediately triggered in my mind on that damn treadmill, that Chris Rock skit. And if you ever go back and watch that skit, the crowd is going crazy. Like they're loving it, like Black people versus niggas, DTC. And it's playing on a lot of the stereotypes that Ruckus is playing on exactly. And that's sort of my thing with it, where I was like, anyone listening to this, please go watch that Chris Rock clip, Black people versus niggas, and then hear it in your mind as Uncle Ruckus and tell me you are not left with the exact same feeling. And it's not like, it's not like Black people believe this stuff about Black people too. Yes. I guess that's my point. Let's be real. Like, especially like I said, I reached a point in my career where I said, I'm not shucking and jiving. I'm not code switching. Other Black people don't like that either. It's like, what are you doing, sis? Or, oh, you just need to, express yourself more eloquently. You just need to do this. You have to explain your points. And even if you don't need help, ask for help. No, that's all shuck and jive bullshit. But because they're playing the game that is expected of them, they do not like if you are in an office or in a white space doing nigga shit. And that, to me, is the point of all of this whole episode, is how we sit here and like, let's not just act like it's Ruckus being a piece of shit. It's Black people doing it to other Black people as well. Just like it's Stinkmeaner doing it to Tom. And while even how we've been talking like and saying like about Tom when Stinkmeaner is sleeping with Sarah, and it's like, in pursuing Usher, how she wanted more of a black man and this sort of thing. It's like all of this thread sort of running through of like Black people judging other Black people. Don't do that shit. Because when you do, you're playing into the white hatred stereotype, is my point.
It's a great point too, because that's a lot of the work that I do with my therapist is undoing that self-hatred and that idea of what Blackness is that was driven into me by society and media and this is how Black people should be. This is how Black people should not be. And this is how you can be a good Black person. And this is how you're a bad Black person. Like, it was always like that and still is to some extent. And it's...
Yes. I think that is an issue, honestly, that most Black people are dealing with. Even if you're like me and you grew up in the hood, okay, I went to Catholic school where, there's like 20 Black kids and everyone else is white. Like we are taught this shit, how we wear our hair, all this stuff. I know we touched on this a bit before. It is just drilled in you society wise, I think on the very first episode when Tiara brought up that quote about getting closer to whiteness and how that's the measure of success. And I think this whole thing with like how Tom is the target, Tom is the furthest thing from a Black man, etc. Like Stinkmeaner and Ruckus are really bringing to the forefront the issue with all this kind of bullshit. Sorry.
Well, no, it's perfect. I still stand by my not deeper meaning, like overall deeper meaning, but I totally see every point that you make, every single one.
No, I agree.
And when I say, stand by blah, blah, blah bullshit, what I'm basically saying, because that's what I sound like. What I'm basically saying is, this is one of those that it doesn't, like, just from the surface, just watching it, it doesn't feel like it's all that deep or anything like that. But this is one where you really have to kind of look into all of the different little tiny things that come together to really make it make sense and to see what the point is. And I think your point is really good in what you just said.
Yeah.
It's jumbling out of my own mouth. So go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I agree because, like I said, I didn't see what I saw it as, like me just being, I want to say offended, but not the message how it was being portrayed. I didn't necessarily agree with it, but with having this conversation, I definitely see the nuances, I'll say, of how the point is being made. And when it comes to certain situations, not so much as just overall, like just blanketing all Black men with having these horrible, irrational moments. So I definitely, I see that more, and tying it to what we're currently going through, it actually makes it make more sense as well. So, kudos to you, Miss Lindsay.
Well, here's another question, just to keep the convo going. I started to ask you guys earlier, how did you feel when Tom was having his nigga moments? Like when the guy steals his parking spot and Tom hits back. Or when Sarah finally gets fucked in the way she wants to be. Like, what were your thoughts and feelings on that?
I kind of felt like it's about time that this side of him, or that he can be a little blacker. But then again, I feel bad on even saying that, because what makes him a little blacker is that he had these moments, or that he stood up for himself, or, so yeah, that's
same,
kind of.
Yeah. Same. That's kind of like my thing with that, right? Like, and how they're saying, like, you can't separate the nigga from the Black man. That was where I said, like, I think the message was coming through as well. Like, yo, I know a lot of people are going to get mad at me, but y'all all niggas. So, you know what I mean? So stop trying to like put other people down for their niggerish behaviors, whether they're not reading a book, rapping or dancing, etc. It is a part of you. And so that's why you want to celebrate when Tom is doing the stuff that's more niggerish or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
That's an amazing word that I will never say out loud.
No one has ever, well, yeah, I guess like with you telling us how you grew up, I was like, no one's ever told you, like, they used to tell me all the time, stop being niggerish. Lindsay, stop it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. No.
I'm pretty sure I've probably said it recently. Like, but like,
I got different
like
words.
I said, I've joked and I'll tell hubby, get your people. They're acting real niggerish right now. Like, so I'm not sure I've said that in recent times, but it can be such a good word, because it's not saying that you're necessarily describing Black people. It could just be the behavior that you're exhibiting, but we know what it really was describing, especially when we were told. I'm sure. Huh?
Yeah,
we know exactly what it is.
Yeah, so then we get to, well, basically what is the ending scene of the show, where Ghostface Killah pops back up while they're still there trying to exorcise the demon out of Tom. Huey is like, yo, I'm tired. Can you just tell me what it is? Because I'm not getting it. And he says it again. And Huey finally gets it. He has to bring peace to end the moment. So he starts trying to get Stinkmeaner and Ruckus to realize that they agree on a lot of things. And then they start laughing. And all of a sudden, Stinkmeaner is like, you tricked me. And he just like explodes out of Tom's body. And is that the end of Stinkmeaner? We do not know. But then, like, after Tom sleeps for a minute, he wakes up and has no idea that anything happened, which I also find completely hilarious, because the aftermath of everything that Tom just did, like, is he going to have a job? Is his wife going to expect that again? And he's like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I love how he's like, what am I doing in your bed?
Right? And Riley's like, why?
Yeah.
What are you? Such a little shit. Like, even in the time when you could just let it go. He's like, no, I'm still going to be a little shithead. I'm still going to do it.
Yeah. Pretty much. All right. So,
like in that's what it is.
Is there anything else that you guys wanted to talk about the episode before we get to our WPQ of the night?
Not I, said the fly.
All righty. So, Dean, hit us.
Welcome to Stupid White People Questions.
You mean I'm gonna stay this color?
Welcome, everyone.
It's so satisfying every time I hear, you mean I'm going to stay this color? It's like, I fucking love
I'm
that.
going to stay this color. All I need is my thermos. I love that movie. Today, so as you're all aware, I spend a lot of time on the TikTok, and a lot of time on Black TikTok, just because learning and getting inspired and things like that. But there was so every now and again, what will happen is a Black content creator will talk about racism and things like that, and then of course, some racist white piece of shit will ask them a question like this. Well, didn't Africans sell their own into slavery? Why aren't you blaming them for all the problems?
I mean, selling other Africans into slavery was one problem, which, yes certain African tribes are responsible, but that's not all the other problems.
Right.
So,
and most of the stuff that included Africans selling Africans, they were selling like prisoners of war. And like when they would fight with other tribes, they would take prisoners and then sell them into slavery, basically. So it's like that was something that was a tribal thing. That wasn't about like making money like fucking white people did.
Yeah, well, it was also that they were
eventually it changed and a lot of people started like capturing.
It was the white man was coming over there with guns and said, "You're going to sell us these people into slavery." And they're like, "Okay, so don't shoot me. Here, you can have these people." Mm-hmm. So and by the way, that wasn't
all of it, but that was a big part of it.
But that was from Marsha Warfield's TikTok, by the way, because she has a great series that she does on there. If you remember Roz from Night Court, so Marsha Warfield. Brilliant. But so she does a series on her TikTok of white people, we need to talk. And it's great. So highly recommend checking it out.
I'm definitely gonna do that. Well, now that I'm on the TikTok more, and your video that you did, wanted to say, so awesome. I thought it was very well put together, super sweet, and I've actually gotten like some more followers and likes because of it. I shared it. So
I love you guys. That's you. I wish I had more time to say more things, but it's only a minute. So
yeah, no, it's perfect. I was like, oh, helped me making the merch right there. Like you just did exactly what I was having a problem with having the right descriptions. But I thought that was awesome. So I did want to thank you for that.
Thank you. You're welcome.
But to kind of add on to the conversation, I would love for people that have that question to actually know a fact that that they are now verifying that only 9% of slaves in slavery actually came from Africa, and came across the transatlantic journey.
Because it was family,
those of us that were here, exactly. So that. Put that into perspective when people have little things to say like that. Not only did you enslave the native, Native Americans and us because we were obviously here. Then you went on top of that and then took
and continued selling them for generations. Yeah.
And maybe when people have that question, just go read a book really about the transatlantic slave, because there were so many stops along the way where they went and they sold people, or they threatened, areas that they were coming into, saying, well, we'll do the same thing to you unless X, Y, and Z, which is why it happened. And a lot of the time, people were trying to save them from slavery. So whether or not you brought them in and called them an indentured servant or whatnot, they thought they were doing something to help these people from a worse situation.
Yeah.
Now, people are humans. And so there are times that some of those people flipped the switch and then ended up being just as big of assholes as, as the slave owners that we knew and slave masters. But that's not a reason to then years later go, well, how can you guys be mad about it? Like, come on. Come on. But these questions,
not only that, but yeah. So even if that was 100% true, and 100% of them came from Africa, you still bought people, and fucking used them.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
So that just because one person did something bad doesn't mean you also get to do something bad. So fuck you with that bullshit.
Right?
Some old bullshit.
I like that. And drop the mic on that. Boom. Fucking that bullshit.
You got anything to add there, Linz?
And we do blame them. Like, let's be real, it's 2021. There are still Black people selling other Black people into slavery, quote unquote, in one way or another. Your Candace Owens of the world, your Stacey Dashes, and we do blame them. Thank you. Yep. This has been my TED Talk.
No, that was fucking beautiful. Right there, that's our clip for...
Yes, no, I love that.
All right. Well, happy last day of March. We've now been in a pandemic for over a year.
I know. Crazy.
Most people who are still, paying attention and, keeping themselves safe are still living a lot less in the world than we used to. Wear a fucking mask. Get your vaccine when you're eligible. Don't jump the line because somebody is going to need it. Actually, everyone's going to fucking need it. So go and get it if you can. Yeah. Anybody got anything else they want to shout out before we go?
I concur.
We're on the Patreon.
Oh, yeah. The Patreon. You can find our information in our show notes for all of our fun stuff, like our Facebooks and our TikToks and our Twitters
Tweeties
and
the Gramster,
Hipstergrams, that's what it is. And our Patreon, where if you have not been sitting and listening with us for the last 2 hours, that's because the other hours on our Patreon.
So one of the things that, and I will tell you, because initially not everybody, like the first level, the lowest tier, the $5 tier, did not have access to the extended editions. What I've done is I've made it so that anybody who's over 5 gets early access to the extended editions, and will have early access to any special things that we do. Those who are at the $5 level will still get them. They'll just get them on the same release day as the regular episode.
Sounds good. Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Got it.
We got to figure our shit out. We're getting there. We'll get it all by the time the new show is up and we're like, being listened to by more people.
Yeah. And you guys just know whatever you love in whatever form that you can take us and what you can get us. So go ahead and just add us. Put a little extra Queens of Woodcrest into your life. And get that Patreon. I love it.
All right, then. I hope y'all have a great week, and we'll see you in April. And don't fuck with your friends by pretending to be pregnant or like gay for April Fool's Day. I'm just going to put that out there.
Right. Like, I forget our baby. Like, when you're younger, it was fun. I used to call my mom and say shit like, guess what? But you don't really play with your mom like that when you're, talking about you're pregnant. So just leave it alone.
Right.
Plus, I don't like to speak things into existence once again. So
right.
Have your bigger problems than that. Yeah. I guess that would be correct.
I
love you guys.
Bye. Don't take this the wrong way, but I need you to get the hell up out of here.
Hey, thanks for joining us again as we make our way through the trials and tribulations of the Freeman family. We hope to see you back again next time for the story of Thugnificent. Want to know where to find us on the social medias or where to subscribe to the podcast? Just head right over to www.theboondockspod.com/links.
Have a stupid white people question you want to leave us? Email us at host@theboondockspod.com or leave us a voicemail at 760-933-8636. That's 760-3-UNDO.
Shout out to the artists who've created our intro and outro tunes. Our intro is #MakeAChange by KIRK. You can find them on Spotify, iTunes, and Tidal. Our outro is Good Times by Audio Binger. You can find them on freemusicarchive.org and YouTube.